Hi, Jyoti, can you hear me?
Let me see. I think I have to unmute. Yeah, I think I can hear you. Yeah.
Good. So, okay, so,
Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
hi. So maybe we could follow this thing that to the extent possible, all
The
half.
time.
Yeah, right. So it's 25 plus 5, 13 plus 2.
Yeah.
So
Right. So basically, there are 3 talks in this session,
right.
and all of them are half an hour.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yep.
So we'll try to do it 25 plus 5.
Right. Right. That's right. Thanks. Thank you.
Look, the discussion session is how long?
It's up to you. Maybe half hour, 45 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Some cutoff has to be applied.
Yeah, right. So I mean, you decide. It's entirely up to you.
So let's see how the response is. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So I have posted your topic, Professor Maharana. I've posted your topic at the schedule. You can see there is a double asterisk on the schedule, and
Yeah,
it says,
just start the ball rolling.
yeah, right, yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. So our speaker is here already.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Yes. So do you want to wait, Alok, do you want to wait for a couple of minutes, because I can see only half the population. Like there were like
Yeah.
92 people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Plus, I venture to push people have a really quick lunch. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, maybe we could wait for a few minutes if that's okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Abhishek. Yeah.
Hi. My screen is visible, right?
Your screen is visible. Yes.
Okay. And yeah, thank you.
Maybe you can make it like full screen, because we can also see the sidebar.
Oh,
Yeah, you can get rid of the sidebar by clicking on one of those arrows, I think.
I think that's the best I can do. Oh, right. Yeah. This is better?
This is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Abhishek. So you'll have like 25 minutes, and I'll give you a reminder after 25 minutes. And hopefully you'll finish by then, and then we'll have like 5 minutes of questions. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I should begin now.
Yeah, maybe 2 minutes we have waited. Maybe we can start because the recording is already there. So what do you say? Hello?
Bilkul, you please, you decide. Jyotirmay, please, you're the boss. You decide.
No way. So,
Yeah.
okay, maybe we can start. Okay. So welcome everyone to this post-lunch session of the first day. So our first speaker in this session is Abhishek Kumar Mehta from ISAR Pune, and he will be telling us about parity odd 3D CFT 3-point functions and flat space scattering amplitude correspondence. Abhishek, please start.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So I'll be speaking about this new parity odd correspondence. This actually the CFT correlator and the flat space amplitude correspondence has been studied in Mellin space by Penedonis, Kaplan, Raju, Fitzpatrick, and it has also been studied in momentum space to a degree by Raju, Farrow, Lipstein, and Metsev. And even though this is a very well studied correspondence, we still have a lot of interesting new results to present in this talk in the momentum space. And momentum space CFT has not been very well studied up until recently. And this talk is actually based on an upcoming paper which I am writing with my supervisor, Professor Sachin Jain, and a paper which we already wrote with Professor Sachin Jain and Ranjan John, Amin Nizami, and Aditya Suresh. Right. So let's begin with what we already know about 3-point 4D flat space amplitudes and 3-point 3D CFT correlators. Just as a note, these amplitudes which we are talking about are actually arbitrary spinous massless gauge fields, cubic amplitudes, and the CFT correlations are for conserved arbitrary spinous currents. And in the amplitude side, we have actually 2 parity even and 2 parity odd structures. And we also see a double copy relation amongst the cubic amplitudes. The Yang-Mills graviton double copy is very well known, is one of the double copy structures that is very well known. But on the 3D CFT side, we see that compared to the 4D amplitude, we have 2 parity even and only 1 parity odd structure. So compared to the 4D amplitude, we have one structure missing. And a priori, we do not see any double copy structure manifest at the level of the CFT correlators. So the aim of this talk is to actually make the map, or rather the correspondence between 4D amplitudes and 3D CFT correlators, at least at the 3-point level, more precise. And to do that, we construct the missing second parity odd CFT structure and establish a double copy structure in the CFT correlators. Right. So let me just get some of the conventions and notations out of the way. So when we are working in 4D momentum space, I am actually to make the correspondence between the 3D CFT correlators and the 4D cubic vertices, the correspondence between them more manifest. We work with the following parameterization of the polarization tensor and the null momenta, and in these parameterizations, the momentum conservation looks like this, and the various 4-dimensional Lorentz invariant structures they look like this in this parameterization. Now we can take a look at a simple photon graviton vertex in the 4D side. There are four independent structures on the 4D side. Non-minimal vertex with its parity odd and parity even substructures, and a minimal vertex with a parity odd and a parity even vertex. And for this case, the minimal derivative is a two derivative vertex, which for example, a two derivative vertex will be root g f squared. But in general, for arbitrary spins, it's a S3 plus S2 minus S1 derivative. Keep in mind that S1 is less than equal to S2 is less than equal to S3. And similarly, the non-minimal vertex is actually a four derivative vertex in this example, but in general, it can be a S1 plus S2 plus S3 derivative vertex. Yeah, I am working in momentum space, but yes, in position space, they have these derivatives. Yes. So for arbitrary spins, the cubic vertex look like this. They are basically powers of some Lorentz invariant structures, which I have mentioned here. And for S1, for the case of S1 equal to S2, we actually have to make use of some Schouten identities to write it in a nice way. And if you were to work with these cubic vertices play around with the spins, you will notice the following double copy structure for us in the case of spin 2 and spin 1 amongst the cubic vertices. And this is very much like the double copy structures we know between Yang-Mills and Einstein-Gravity. So what about CFTs? In CFT, like I have alluded before, that we have two parity even structures and one parity odd structures. And now we see that we do not have enough structures on the CFT side to establish a precise correspondence between correlators and 4D flat space vertices or amplitudes. And the aim is to remedy this by realizing the one extra parity odd CFT 3-point structure and a double copy in the CFT side. To do that, I and my collaborators found it very convenient to introduce a new substructure to the CFT correlators. Here we break a CFT correlator into what we call a homogeneous and a non-homogeneous component. And a homogeneous and the non-homogeneous component behave very differently when we use the special conformal Ward identities. We see that for the homogeneous case they vanish, and for the non-homogeneous case we get the transverse Ward identity terms. And notice that we are working in the momentum space here, because in position space such a distinction is generally not done, because at non-coincident points these Ward identity terms will vanish, because in position space these Ward identities have delta functions in them. And we have found that this is a very natural way of looking at momentum space correlator, and we have also observed that this is best implemented in spinor helicity variables. And this homogeneous and the non-homogeneous components, they seem to have some physical meaning, and that physical meaning is made manifest when we look in the CFT3 DS4 correspondence, where we noticed that the homogeneous even is provided by the W cube interaction in the bulk. The non-homogeneous even is provided by the Einstein gravity part, and the odd homogeneous terms are provided by W square W tilde parts. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that these homogeneous and the non-homogeneous components have one-to-one correspondence to one of the vertices in the DS space. So once we have the homogeneous and the non-homogeneous distinction of the CFT correlator very clear, we will see that even the flat space limits of the CFT correlator becomes cleaner. And what do I mean by that? So the flat space limit of any d-dimensional 3-point correlator will give you a d+1 dimensional flat space cubic vertex. So for d equal to 3, we will have a 4-dimensional flat space cubic vertex. So if we again take our favorite example of spin 1 and spin 2 correlation, the parity even homogeneous and the non-homogeneous structures look like this. And if we were to take its flat space limit, which is given by E equal to 0, we notice that the leading pole of these homogeneous and the non-homogeneous components are basically the minimal and the non-minimal amplitudes for photon-photon graviton coupling, cubic coupling, and parity even minimal and non-minimal coupling. And for the homogeneous or parity odd homogeneous structure, the flat space limit gives a non-minimal parity odd cubic coupling for graviton photon at the leading pole. Now we discussed that any 3-point function has only 3 structures, and we seem to have exhausted all the 3 CFT structures, and we have already related them in the flat space limit to 3 of the 4 4D amplitudes. So we have one amplitude still missing, which is not a flat space limit of a JJT correlation structure. So the general observation we see is that non-minimal odd is a flat space limit of a parity odd homogeneous CFT structure. A non-minimal parity even amplitude is a flat space limit of even homogeneous CFT structure, and so on. What is missing is the minimal odd, which doesn't seem to come from a flat space limit of any CFT 3-point structure. And therefore, in order to ascertain the missing parity odd structure, we need to understand the flat space amplitudes and the CFT correlator better. And what do I mean by that is that we have observed that the flat space cubic amplitudes have a map between parity even and parity odd structures, and that is what we call the epsilon transform. And the epsilon transform is a differential operator, and it is implemented this way. And more precisely, it takes even minimal parity even minimal structures to parity odd minimal structures, and non-minimal parity even structures to non-minimal odd structures. And we can take a look at a very simple example that this epsilon structure works very well, and it also works for arbitrary spins. And we also noticed in our studies that this epsilon structure can in fact map parity even homogeneous 3-point correlations to parity odd homogeneous 3-point correlations. And notice that if I were to take a flat space limit of 32, remember that I said that CFTD correlators in the flat space limit reduce to d+1 dimensional cubic amplitudes. We will see that we will reproduce, oh, sorry, the equations are wrong. We will reproduce equation 29. We will reproduce equation 29. And therefore, if we wish to reproduce 28 as a flat space limit of some CFT structure, I have to propose a new map which between even non-homogeneous structures and odd non-homogeneous structures. Remember that there were only 3 structures in a CFT correlator, that is even homogeneous, odd homogeneous, and even non-homogeneous. And we have to postulate a new structure which is related to the already known even non-homogeneous structure, and they're related by this map. They're related by this epsilon map, and we see that this odd non-homogeneous structure is precisely the new CFT structure we need to reproduce the minimal odd amplitude in the flat space limit. So how does this new CFT structure look like? Well, I have an example for you. Again, we stick to our obsession with spin 1, and spin 2 correlation, and this is how the new parity odd structure looks like. But this CFT structure has some peculiar properties that we will see here. If we were to look at this structure, the word identity of this new structure in position space, we see that there are no delta functions here, or rather at non-coincident points, this is non-zero. This object del1 mu of this object is non-zero compared to the already known non-homogeneous even structure which has these delta functions, and this T is a conserved current. But for this new structure, this T mu nu is some spin 2 current which is non-conserved, and this is the main reason why this structure, we missed this structure in position space, because when we are computing correlators, position space correlators, we impose the current conservation for correlations of conserved current, and therefore that is the reason why we missed it. And for arbitrary spins, the general proposal is as follows: that in the flat space limit, the minimal odd vertex will be reproduced by this new non-homogeneous odd CFT structure. And more precisely, this non-homogeneous odd CFT structure is the epsilon transform of the already known homogeneous, this is parity even structure. Yes. Now in the Jain and in a combined study by Professor Sachin Jain and Dr. Ranjan John, they came up with a very interesting relation between parity even and parity odd structures to the already familiar structures of the CFT, namely the free boson correlators and the free fermionic correlators. At the level of the 3-point function, they were able to establish these following results. And the new CFT structure, which I discussed, can be written in terms of the familiar CFT structures as follows. It's just the epsilon transform of free boson plus free fermion by 2. And now we actually come to the final part of my presentation, that is the double copy structures in CFT3. Since we know that CFT3 correlators give 4D flat space QB vertices, and since these cubic vertices show some double copy relation, does it imply that the CFT correlations also show some double copy relations? Well, in Farrow and McFadden, they understood a double copy relation in this flat space limit, and they used it to suggest a double copy relation beyond the flat space limit. But given the complicated structure of CFT correlators in momentum space, it is not very clear, and it seems unlikely that such a double copy could exist in general. And we of course know that such a relation doesn't hold in position space. Am I still audible to people? Hello?
Yes, you are audible. Yes.
Okay.
Please
Thank
continue.
you. Yeah. So yes, in our studies, we have understood these double copy structure of CFT correlator in this combined collaboration, and we have been able to extend this parity or this double copy structure to parity violating terms as well. And we are going to see how this homogeneous and the non-homogeneous structures which we identified in a momentum space CFT correlator will be very crucial to our understanding of this double copy structure. So suppose you consider a double copy structure of this kind, because we know that a 3-point function has only 3 structures, 2 parity even and 1 parity odd structure. A double copy relation of this kind would mean that the RHS will have 4 parity even and 2 parity odd structures, because if you just square it, you will find there are 4 parity even and 2 parity odd structures. And you see that there is a discrepancy in the counting here, but this can be remedied very easily if you were to consider a different form of a double copy, where the double copy is only amongst the homogeneous and the non-homogeneous structures of a CFT correlator. Because if we were to do this double copy, a square of the RHS would mean this expression. And because even square is just the same as odd square, which we were able to understand, it means that out of these 3 structures, only 2 are independent, and therefore the counting of the independent structures on both sides match, and the discrepancy simply goes away. So based on this understanding, we have been able to generalize the double copy relations to arbitrary spins, and the result is here as follows. For both homogeneous and the non-homogeneous components, the double copy relations hold separately. And these double copies, unlike discussed in Farad, McFadden and Faro, they hold even beyond the flat space limits. So these are exact double copies. They are not flat space limits. They are exact double copies. And I can provide you an example for S prime equal for the double copy relation between JJJ and TTT, and they look like this. And yeah, we also have similar relations for arbitrary spins. So in conclusion, this has given us a lot of ideas and motivation to think about double copy relations for higher point functions like 4-point functions, and probably make a path for spinor helicity bootstrap maybe, and think about flat space limits for higher point function and see whether they give quartic vertices in the flat space limit, and explore the supersymmetric theory for similar correspondences. I would like to finish my presentation with a puzzle. In 3+1 dimensions, it is known that there is a discrepancy between the amplitudes, the non-perturbative amplitudes, and which are computed entirely based on the symmetries, cubic amplitudes, non-perturbative cubic amplitudes, and the local cubic vertices. But interestingly, for some CFT correlators, as we have seen that these flat space limit always goes to the tree level cubic vertices, these cubic vertices. But if we look at CFT correlators that are outside the triangle, what I mean is that the spin 3 is greater than the sum of spin 1 plus spin 2 in a 3-point correlation. The subleading terms in the flat space limit of such outside the triangle correlators will reproduce the full flat space amplitude, full non-perturbative flat space amplitude. And thank you. Questions?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Abhishek, for a very nice talk. Are there any questions and comments? We have some time for taking them. Yes, I can see some hands. Yes, Shriyaz, yes.
So I joined your talk a little late, so forgive me if I've misunderstood. But you said in the TJJ, I suppose, that there were not 3 but 4 independent CFT structures. Did I understand you right? So 4 independent kinematical structures.
Yes,
is that right?
Is right. Yes.
Is one of them, is the new one a contact term, or does it also persist at separated points?
It's not a contact term. It does persist at separated points. Yes.
I
The
see.
new structure. Yeah. Because as I showed the ward identity, if it were a contact term, it would, even its ward identity wouldn't persist, right? So if
Right. So why doesn't this, if this is right, why doesn't it completely change? I think my memory is that the Maldacena-Zhibudov analysis was, the starting point of that was that there were only 3 structures for conserved currents.
that is correct, yes.
And you say there is a 4th structure which persists at at separated points. So it sounds like it should completely change that analysis.
Because the Maldacena-Zhibudov analysis was based on conserved currents, but this ward identity for this new structure shows that the T is not a conserved object. So it will not come up in the analysis by Maldacena-Zhibudov.
I see. So, but then it is not a structure for a conserved stress tensor.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Yes.
Oh, I see. Fine. Okay. But then, I mean, why is it relevant to gravitational scattering, for instance?
Because this flat space limit produces the flat space limit of this object produces the minimal parity odd cubic coupling. So in that sense, it is relevant.
I'm sorry to persist, but if you had a graviton in the bulk, the corresponding stress tensor would be conserved, right?
That is right. We have not thought from that perspective yet. The bulk interpretation of this new structure. So I don't know.
Yeah, Siraj, I don't think it will persist from the bulk perspective. It was just to point out that, in the flat space, there are this 4th structure, how to construct that, which correlator in the flat space limit gives the correct 4th structure in the 4th flat space vertex, which was not understood. This was just to, as it is clear, it's not conserved. So in the bulk, it will not play the role. You are totally right.
Oh, I see. So is the statement that if you take a non-conserved stress tensor and 2 conserved currents, then instead of 3 structures there are 4? Is that one of your conclusions?
Yes.
At least the parity odd thing, there is one more that one can define like this. Maybe there are more general structures that we may not have thought. The interesting point of these structures are that they can just be constructed out of the free theory by doing a simple epsilon transformation.
I see. So you can find examples of new structures, but there could be more. I see. Thank you. In general, if you take spin S1, spin S2, spin S3, without any conservation, you'd expect the number of structures to grow fast with S, right? Some power of S. Isn't that right?
So yeah, that is right. But it is like, it's exactly like the non-conserved current in Maldacena-Zhibudov sense that, they are even non-conserved if they are not even higher spin non-conserved thing. They're in that sense, that they're just constructible out of free theories. You're right that one should be able to construct more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Arindam, do you have a question?
Yeah, so I had a similar question actually. So at one point you were Abhishek, you were relating these structures with using DS4 CFT3 correspondence to different vertices in the here, right?
Yes.
So now that you have a new structure, how do you? I mean, how does it in this interpretation? How does it look like? I mean, like what?
Yeah, we have not thought about the bulk interpretation. For this, so actually we do not know. So we have not studied that area yet. So
okay.
We will do it in the future.
Just to add to that, if you take, for example, instead of Einstein gravity, if you take, let's say, WW tilde, okay, in the bulk, that will actually produce a non-parity or non-homogeneous term, but that turns out to be a contact term, okay? That actually, you can show that in general for arbitrary spin, you can define one mode structure, which is always a parity or contact term. What we are talking about here is a non-homogeneous parity odd, which is not a contact term, and but it has some peculiar property. As Abhishek said, we have not thought about in the gravity. We are not sure how to get them in the gravity. Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Alok, you have a question?
Hi, Abhishek. Yeah, just a small question. So the double copy, I mean, usually in the amplitude case, we see that there is a double copy possible when the gauge theory amplitudes, have a BCJ relation, right? I mean, we can't write if we write the gauge theory amplitudes in some Feynman diagrams, then the double copy is not manifest. So here,
Right.
is there because you didn't show the color factors, I mean, is there a BCJ relation in your current correlators that allows you to do the double copy? I mean,
Actually, we have not looked into that.
I see. Okay. But it could, yeah, I mean, there are some color factors that you didn't show, right? Yeah.
Right. That is right.
But you're saying it's not clear if the BCJ relations are satisfied for this current correlator.
Yeah, we did not look into it.
I
So we're not sure.
Yeah.
I just want one more small question that I know you said you did not look in the bulk, but there was a paper recently by Radu and others where they look at the bulk ADS amplitudes, tree level, and show that there is a double copy from Yang-Mills to gravity just by looking at the bulk ADS amplitudes using Witten diagrams type.
You mean for the correlators?
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
So I mean, I don't know if this is related to you have a
No, I have to see. I will see and have a look into that.
Sorry,
Thank you for
Alok,
that.
was it 4-point function or 3-point?
Yeah, 4 point. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alok, so right now we are just this is actually at the level of 3-point function, and
Yeah, so there it is certainly easier for them. I mean,
Yeah.
they went beyond. So certainly
at the
3-point
level,
Yeah, tree level. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one of the aim is to we understand this 3-point structure really well now. One of the things you can show that just imposing the double copy has to persist at the CFT correlator level. You can actually see that only free theory, arbitrary OP coefficient, only free theories has this kind of double copy structure. Of course, not the structure with the OP coefficient I'm talking about. So one of the aim actually is to just see in 4-point function in general what one can say. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Any other quick question or comments? Okay. If not, let's thank Abhishek again for a very nice talk. So our next speaker is Arnab Kundu. Arnab, you're here.
Yes. Can you hear me?